SCP Foundation, item number 8001. Containment class, Euclid. Disruption class, EKEY. Risk class, Caution. Special containment procedures. Due to the relative difficulty of accessing SCP-8001 without assistance, SCP-8001 is considered to be generally self-containing. In the time since SCP-8001 was discovered by Foundation personnel and a base of operations was established therein, only 3 civilian vessels have come within 150 kilometers of an access point, and none met any of the other understood prerequisites for passage through those access points. Mobile Task Force Omega 91 Sentinels will maintain a persistent perimeter around the most common access points to SCP-8001 by way of a single Raymond Howe-class patrol vessel to be anchored at the K-162 floating research platform, roughly 25 kilometers from access point Aleph. Gaining access to SCP-8001 is not a well-understood process. Personnel attempting to reach SCP-8001 and the Island of Last Watch should observe Protocol 8001-105, detailed later in this document, which dictates the position, orientation, date, time of day, and atmospheric characteristics vessels are believed to need in order to pass into SCP-8001. Failed attempts to pass into SCP-8001 will result in the vessel simply ending up further west than SCP-8001's understood position, at which point vessels may return to K-162 to attempt passage at a later date. SCP-8001 can only be accessed by a floating vessel. Flying machines, such as airplanes, helicopters, airships, or gliders, will inevitably find themselves blinded by the clouds of water vapor that surround SCP-8001, regardless of the altitude or speed they are flying at, and regardless of their proximity to a vessel that makes successful passage. SCP-8001 causes significant interference with radar and other imaging devices, making tracking vessels passing in and out of SCP-8001 difficult. Similarly, submersible vessels cannot pass into SCP-8001 unless they are surfaced throughout their passage, as direct line of sight with Last Watch is believed to be a prerequisite required to make the journey. The existence of SCP-8001 is routinely discussed within fringe internet communities and other flat Earth groups, making information suppression of SCP-8001 relatively simple due to obfuscation by association. The existence of SCP-8001 does not negate the truth of the Earth being spherical, and the makeup of communities determined to assert the existence of SCP-8001 or discover its location, along with the rhetoric used and adjacent conspiracy theories touted as fact by their membership, act as an informal barrier against discovery by more serious civilian scientific entities. Passage beyond SCP-8001 is not currently believed to be survivable. Individuals who pass over SCP-8001 are considered lost. Description: SCP-8001 is the edge of the planet Earth. The geological, geographical, or ontological origin of SCP-8001 is unknown, and its existence, in spite of the obvious and scientifically verified spherical shape of the planet, exists as a logical impossibility that serves as the primary academic goal of researchers assigned to SCP-8001. SCP-8001 is not an extraplanar space or pocket dimension. Research teams stationed at Site-99 on the Island of Last Watch can be detected by GPS, can use satellites to make telephone calls or transfer information digitally, and have launched rockets or flares that are visible to persons who are not within SCP-8001's locality. SCP-8001 exists as a sheer edge running north to south in the southern Pacific Ocean, over which the waters of the Pacific flow freely into an indeterminably deep void beyond. Approaches to SCP-8001 by ship are precarious. Vessels can easily get caught in the rapidly moving water and be swept over the edge unless they follow a carefully charted path that maneuvers them past a series of shoals that break up the flow of water, which ends up in a sheltered bay at the Island of Last Watch. This same passage can be made in reverse, allowing vessels to transit to and from SCP-8001 with relative safety, so long as they are following the correct passageway. SCP-8001 creates a substantial amount of water vapor, which serves to obscure the vicinity around SCP-8001 from outside observation. SCP-8001 cannot be viewed from satellites or any other overhead camera, including those launched from within SCP-8001. It is not known how far SCP-8001 extends in the northern and southern directions, as any attempts to navigate away from last watch by ship inevitably ends in the vessel being swept over the edge of SCP-8001, and any attempts to do the same from the air will either become lost in or obscured by the spray. The navigable portion of the waters leading to SCP-8001 end at a rocky outcrop that rises up from the sea floor, forming a small island roughly 1.2 square kilometers in area. The easternmost section of the island contains a small bay surrounded by shoals, from which the rest of the island can be accessed by way of a narrow staircase cut into the rock. At the center and north of the island is a mostly flat, wooded section upon which grow a variety of different kinds of trees, grasses, and brush. To the south of this area is a small rocky hill that serves as the home to a small graveyard, and to the west is a narrow outcrop of rock that hangs over the edge of SCP-8001. A robust wooden walkway protrudes out over this outcrop, allowing individuals to pass over the edge of SCP-8001 without falling. It is upon the flat wooded area that the Tower of Sunset is located, a moderately sized stone structure built in many conflicting architectural styles, likely over the course of many hundreds or thousands of years. The primary exterior portions of the tower are built in the ancient Roman Ionic style, with the westward-facing portico being an open gallery of limestone pillars supporting a triangular pediment, which extends back into a mostly rectangular inner cella that has been added onto on all sides. There are examples of 17th century Spanish and 5th century Chinese influences, as well as more modern architecture dating as late as the early 19th century, with some fixtures being identified as originating from Britain, the United States, France, and the Netherlands. The primary and seemingly oldest feature of the tower is the tower itself, which is constructed in a mixture of Greek, Egyptian, Roman, and Mesoamerican styles. The tower serves two distinct purposes. Its primary role is as an oil lamp and reflector lighthouse, which is maintained by an 18th century automatic relighting system that appears to have at some point been retrofitted with more modern bearings and timing elements. The secondary role is as a library. The main floor of the tower, as well as most of the tower itself and the two small basement levels, all serve as an information repository for texts and writings, seemingly collected over several hundred years of exploration that ended at SCP-8001. There are examples of journals, logs, charts, maps, diaries, and other texts in a wide variety of languages, including Latin, French, Greek, Farsi, English, German, Spanish, Chinese, Russian, Korean, Urdu, Portuguese, Amharic, and many others, as well as pictographic languages such as Nahuatl and ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. The collection also contains a single piece of modern digital media storage, an early model Sony.MP3 player, manufactured in 2003 within a watertight plastic case, which is believed to have washed up on the island entirely by chance. Despite its watertight case, the .mp3 player was damaged irrevocably by water ingress and is no longer operable. Much care has been made to preserve the texts within the library at the Tower of Sunset, as evident by the significant amount of technology that has been fitted into the original ancient structures over many years to reduce the effects of moisture, light, and aging on the texts contained therein. Many of the texts have been transliterated from their ancient sources into newer, more resilient articles, but there are many that have decayed past the point of legibility. The oldest known piece of writing on the island, a set of Egyptian tablets dating back to what is believed to be at least 2300 BCE, are worn down past the point where they could be translated and are preserved only as a reference point. The most recent document found on the island prior to the Foundation's discovery of it in 1944 was a Chinese sea chart believed to have been printed in 1925, altered significantly in an apparent attempt by the owner to make sense of SCP-8001 and to attempt to chart a path away from it. Prior to the Foundation's arrival, the island of Last Watch had a single inhabitant, a sentient mechanical construct who maintained both the library and the lighthouse, as well as being a general caretaker of the island grounds. This entity, identified as SCP 8001-A, self identified as Aurélie, and claimed to be the reconstituted sapience of a 16th century French explorer who had been marooned on the island at some point in the past. SCP 8001-A is a clockwork entity whose locomotion and speech are controlled by a complex series of gears, diaphragms, pistons, and pulleys, all designed to mimic human behavior.